Every time we actually hold this event, we do something around our charity event, our charity interest, and I just want to talk a little about a couple of things that have actually happened since we last met, which was last year when we talked about the foundation. We talked about the fact that we were going to be doing something about it, and the Australian team have now got the BNI Foundation going in Australia. It's basically something that's been going for a number of years around the world. We haven't been represented in Australia up until now, but it's been a passionate focus of the founders of BNI, Ivan and Beth Meisner. They've been doing it for now a number of years, and they've donated millions of dollars towards helping education around the world for kids to be able to get access to education where they've got underprivileged situations. So that's been their mission. But it also has a focus for any of the causes. It's got the way it's structured. It's got the foundation as an umbrella organisation, and it's got a thing called Business Voices. Now, Business Voices are primarily around education, but the foundation itself has the ability to promote and help you with any cause that you actually have some kind of interest in. So we're trying to use the foundation as a way of recognising what the community does, the thousands of members around Australia, what they do by way of charities, because we all support charities. But many of our chapters basically have a dedicated charity inside their chapter. So it's something you need to be aware of. If you actually have a cause that you want to have a conversation around, then the wife of the National Director, Pauline Marcoux, she's basically now the custodian of the foundation, looking after that, and we have a whole range of ambassadors around the country that are promoting causes for Pauline to basically put her energy behind. So just be aware of that. But we're now going to, today's event is going to be focused on the men's table, and I'm going to bring up, it's a bit of a timely one for this one. Certainly the whole process of having a strong community is really sort of embodied in the formation of the men's table. It was something that came about as a result of BNI members wanting to find a solution to help the guys in the chapters. And it came from AAB, as I mentioned before. The 12 founding members of the men's table were members of AAB, and now the men's table is a fast-growing national charity. It came from that original 12 people. So to talk with us about how the men's table is helping men, helping small business owners, please welcome co-founders Ben Hughes and David Poynton. Come, guys. Who's doing the talking? Dave? Ben? Both going to have a go? Yeah. Okay. There's the clicker.
Thank you.
Where do you go?
Yeah, my name is Ben Hughes, and I'm head of liquids. Hold on. So some of you might know me as the wine man. I was a member of BNI for about 8 years, and I sold wine, and that was my pitch. But I'm up here today talking about the, I might give you just that one. Talking about the men's table. I'm glad to be a co-founder of the men's table. So after a meeting at All About Business back in 2011, I was talking to two of the guys, and I was saying, I'm pretty miserable. Self-employment isn't really working out for me. I got mixed up with some guys. It wasn't great. Ex-wife was giving me a bit of grief, and I was worried about my son. And they turned around to me and said, oh, well, we know exactly how you feel. We feel kind of the same way. Things happen for us in life, and we feel the same way. And I thought, strange. I'm pretty open with my feelings, so I'm either overexcited or a bit depressed. So I have two speeds normally. That's how I work. And by being open with it, I realised that I was hearing a lot of that. So I heard a lot of that coming back at me from guys. So the next meeting, after the meeting, you know, any other business, any announcements, I stood up and I said, I'm starting a men's table. Who'd like to be in it? 12 of us have met on the third Wednesday of the month for nearly 9 years now. And we talk about, thank you. And there are some of the guys up there. Some of you might recognise all members of All About Business in the past. And we talk about how we feel. So what's come from that table is really a set of what we call the fundamentals. And that opens us up to talk about different things. So you might see our t-shirt and our banner say, we don't just talk about footy and shit. That's what most men will talk about. You go down the pub, you talk about footy and shit. We've constructed the fundamentals, so we don't talk about politics, we don't talk about religion, we don't tolerate alpha male behaviour, we don't try and fix men, okay? You're not there to fix, because men will automatically jump in and try and fix the other man. You're there just to listen, and by listening, you're giving a man an outlet. So we very much talk about how we feel, not our views on the world. If you talk about your views on the world, people can disagree with you, okay? If you talk about how you feel, people can't really disagree with you because that's how you feel. So what we've done, we decided to make this into a bigger thing.
Thanks, Ben. Hi, everyone. I'm David. So last year we took out the fundamentals and introduced the men's table to other men. And very quickly, we had an incredible and phenomenal growth year last year. In the next 2 weeks, we'll launch tables 17 and 18. There's a table in Perth, as you can see, Launceston, Auckland, around Sydney and in regional parts of Sydney. The needs that we've been hearing from men, why they come, we asked them when they first arrive, why have you come tonight? What's happening in your life that has this resonate with you? And they've said these kind of things to us. As per the footy and shit, they said, I've got mates, but we only talk about footy and shit. So on the postcards on your table, please take one or two and pass one on to a man in your life, or maybe it's of interest to you. One of the things we say is men don't talk. We are restricted by this very deeply enculturated idea of being a man, which is you don't show vulnerability and you don't talk about emotions. That's how most of us have been raised. A fortunate few are open like Ben and can put their heart on the sleeve. We've heard men talk about essentially being socially lazy. Their wives or partners organise their social lives. They don't invest in the relationship, so when they suddenly find themselves alone in a separation or divorce, for example, they feel incredibly lonely. And loneliness is pervading underneath it for a lot of men. Despite having a lot of acquaintances and connections, there's a deep loneliness there that a lot of men are saying, I'm coming because I want to get connected. I want to talk with other men about what's really going on for me, and that's what seems to be drawing men toward tables. So to talk about the experiences of a couple of different tables, we wanted to invite two men who are in the BNI community and who are sitting at tables. Firstly, somebody who's well known right across the BNI community, David Jones, and then secondly, and he's part of the founding table, and then after him, John Gill, who's part of the second men's table and part of BNI Face. Let's hear it for DJ.
Thank you. Okay, 45 seconds. When the first dinner was suggested, I wasn't depressed or have a particular issue to get off my chest. I basically went along because I thought it was a good idea at the time. So nearly 9 years later, I'm still there. And we're not there to fix anybody unless somebody particularly asks for that help. It's not about hanging out with your best mates because we're a diverse group that just gets together once a month to eat, talk and listen and trust that it's all in the vault. I recently had some challenges with my business and it was good for me just to say things out loud. So in closing, it kind of reminds me of a scene from the movie Crocodile Dundee. Linda Kozlowski is introducing Paul Hogan to a bunch of New York society people, and she explains that so-and-so has spent a fortune on a shrink just to have someone to talk to. And he says, what? Hasn't she got any mates? And that's what it's about for me.
And introducing John Gill.
Hi, everyone. There you go. This is at Lisa height. So I heard about Men's Table and thought that there are lots of good guys in Face that I really wanted to get to know at a better level. So I reached out to Ian Campbell, who's founded MT2 with me, and I said, no, I think we should get a couple of the guys together and really get to know each other for when the bad times happen. And Ian did exactly the right thing. He put his arm on my shoulder, he looked me in the eye and said, John, are you okay? Ian, that was the perfect response, and it knew me. We're on the right track. And I said, no, I'm absolutely fine. I'm solid as a rock. I just want to have a support group for when bad times come. I did not know, 3.5 months later, when I was in a morgue at 4 a.m. in the morning, identifying the body of my niece who had committed suicide, how close we are to having those bad times. Men's Table was 2 weeks away from that. And for me, during those 2 weeks, one of the things that kept me together was knowing I had a group of blokes that I could go to and talk about how this was making me feel. So I encourage anyone to build that support network, because you never know when you're going to need it. Thank you, guys.
Thank you for your honesty, gents. Those are just a couple of stories we've heard. We've got about 160 men sitting at tables right now. We've heard the most heart-wrenching stories. All you've got to do is scratch the surface. Very quickly, I'd like to thank our BNI family who have been massively supported. We did crowdfunding in June. We raised 19,000. 65% of it came from BNI. We've had amazing work in kind, from videos, from websites, to printing, copywriting, just amazing.
But we are a charity and we need funding because it's taking resources to help to grow and build the organisation. So in 2020, we're doing a few things. We want to continue to grow tables. We can imagine by the end of this year, 50 tables. And we also want to really look after the tables so that they're healthy, functioning, long-lasting groups. We're also doing some other things to develop the men at tables, to support their skills and what they need as table members. One of the things we're doing is supporting them with scholarships for assist suicide intervention training. It's a very powerful course, and we've been able to secure scholarships for men at tables. We're developing skills around conflict resolution because we know as men and as humans sit together over time, there will be conflict. It's not a case of if, but when. So how can we have those skills to work through conflict? And we've been incredibly blessed with the support of so many women. Women can see the need in men, in the men around them. And we've got a women's group forming up as an advisory group, meeting for the first time in a couple of weeks to feed in how can we support, how can we talk with this about our men, and what are our needs in all of this as you men are meeting your needs. So we're doing all of that on the smell of an oily rag, and funding can help us to continue to grow the organisation and do this good work.
And finally, we have pledge forms. We have this. There are some amazing prizes in here. But what does a pledge do? So if you pledge $100, it enables us to get a man to a table for a life of belonging with a trusted group of peers. A place where he can share. If you donate $1,000, we can set up a whole table. Well, 12 men can actually go and talk to each other. But that's not just their community, because what will happen is, if they go and start opening up about their feelings, they're likely to go home and start talking to their partner about how they actually feel. So there's a whole community, a knock-on effect. It's not just the 12 men there, it's their family, it's their work colleagues. So thank you very much for your support. Thank you very much for your time. If you feel to donate, please do so. Thank you.
Okay, thanks guys. It was great actually when they actually wanted to become the charity and they actually reached out to the BNI community. The degree to which they actually got support from you guys was actually quite amazing. So